The Ministry of National Security convened a special meeting of the National Disaster Subcommittees on Tuesday at the headquarters of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to assess the readiness of the various subcommittees, particularly in light of increased activity in the Atlantic. The meeting was chaired by Prime Minister and Minister of National Security, Honorable Dr. Terence Drew. It was attended by the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security, Cecile Hull, Acting Deputy National Disaster Coordinator Ulrika Lennon-Petty, and different subcommittee heads. During an interview with ZIZ News, Mrs. Lennon-Petty shared that the subcommittees are prepared year-round in the event of a major disaster.
Well, because we preach preparedness year-round, because the National Disaster Subcommittees, they are not just a hurricane disaster subcommittee, they are a subcommittee that functions year-round. And so I would say that they remain prepared throughout the year. Preparedness is a yearly thing, it's not just a hurricane season activity that we partake in.
She also stated that NEMA remains in constant contact with its stakeholders.
We are in constant contact with our stakeholders. The National Disaster Subcommittees, each subcommittee has membership from public and private sector. There are 10 of them, and what we do, we meet regularly actually. We try and meet at least 4 times a year, but apart from that, we communicate regularly. We have a WhatsApp chat. We also, where we share updated weather information as well as anything hazard related, we share that in that chat. We also communicate via email and via telephone as well.
At present, St. Kitts Met Services and NEMA are closely monitoring Hurricane Lee in the mid-Atlantic Ocean. Lennon-Petty is urging the general public to start their disaster preparedness plans if they haven't already.
As we are now in the peak of the hurricane season, you expect to see more activity in the Atlantic, which means that the likelihood of us being impacted by any type of tropical cyclone increases. And so at this time, we encourage persons to continue their disaster preparedness. If you haven't started already, your family plan, having your emergency supplies on hand, knowing where your shelters are, doing your regular household checks to make sure that you stay prepared, because then you don't want to be running around, standing in long lines at the last minute if we were to be impacted.
Acting Deputy National Disaster Coordinator Mrs. Ulrika Lennon-Petty.